Welcome to the special edition of Inside Leduc. Our guest today is Lars Hansen, running for city councillor for the City of Leduc Municipal Election. Please listen in as he talks about how being boots on the ground for the last 5 months and talking to the residents at their doors has given him a strong sense of community stance and topics that he is passionate to bring to the table if he is re-elected. Election date is October 18th, so make sure you tune into all the candidate platforms so you can make the most informed decision for you. Hello and welcome to this month's special edition of Inside Leduc. I am your host, Tarah Flynn. I would like to acknowledge that we are on Treaty 6 territory, a traditional meeting grounds, gathering place, and traveling route for many First Nations. We acknowledge these First Nations, Métis, and Inuit whose footsteps have marked these lands for centuries. As a special edition, I want to give each of our candidates running for City Council a chance to share a bit about themselves outside the door knocking and the forums that they have been on. So welcome, Lars Hansen. How are you doing this evening?
Thanks for having me. I'm doing great. It's exhausting. We're at the tail end of the campaign, but it's going well.
That's awesome. Yes. So let's start off with a bit of who you are.
Sure. Yeah. So as you mentioned, my name's Lars Hansen. I'm born and raised here in Leduc. Really proud of my hometown. I grew up in the Leduc Estates, kind of lakeside area. I attended Leduc Estates elementary school, went to the junior high, graduated from Leduc Comp in 2011, and then went on to the University of Alberta. And so I got a degree there in political science. But it was a little bit of a mix of everything. Like you had some urban planning, municipal politics specifically, things like that. So, lived through my whole life, did a lot of volunteering. I volunteered for the Alberta Summer Games when we had that. I did coaching for Leduc Minor Soccer, and then I also sat as a public rep on the Parks, Recreation, and Culture boards. So really, really proud of my hometown, really into, giving back and getting involved. So that's the long answer to who I am, I guess.
So political science then. So, politics was always in your viewpoint then if you went to political science for school?
Yeah, well, politics was always talked around the kitchen table with my family. Both my parents are teachers. My mom taught at St. Benedict's for like 30 years. My dad taught out in Millet at Griffith Scott for a number of years as well. And, that value of public service, that value of giving back was always kind of built into my DNA from my parents. And I was taught that politics, that's how you make change, right? So, always in my DNA.
That's awesome. And that's one thing I do love about municipal politics is that you really get to see it right in front of you where it's happening. Where's your tax dollars are going? It's like every day you go and use the facilities or you watch the roads being built. Like it's something that you can really see transpire right in front of your eyes.
Yeah.
Every day.
Well, and that's one of the reasons why I got involved in municipal politics is it doesn't have that partisanship, right? We all have our values on council. We all have our thoughts, but you can borrow from the left, right, up, down, green, blue, whatever. And you can make change right in your backyard. You just have to find 3 friends to vote with you. And you can make some really interesting change that you see every single day, right?
That's absolutely it. Yeah, for sure. So tell us again, so you're running for council, you're an incumbent. So what is it that you're looking for in this next term if you're elected?
Yeah, well, I guess the first and foremost is we're in a bit of a different ballgame now. With COVID-19, I think a lot of the issues have changed to some degree. Some have gotten have become bigger issues. So the 3 that I heard, and I've been door knocking a ton, going door to door. I've been talking to folks online, but the 3 big ones I've heard is affordability, jobs in the economy, and crime reduction. And what I tell people is, look, I have specific policies to work on each one, but I'm not trying to sell anybody a pipe dream. We're not going to create thousands of jobs overnight or reduce crime to zero or reduce your taxes to zero. But, these are the 3 things that I've heard door to door that, I'm hoping to work on should I be, reelected.
That's awesome. Yeah. And there is a lot of green shoots already happening, in my opinion, in those areas. We're doing the crime map. We've got a lot of really active participation with a citizens crime group as well. And what we're doing at the airport, like that's such a fantastic leverage that we can just keep hopefully strumming in all that growth. So, yeah. And what differentiates you from the other candidates?
Well, you know what? There's a few things. I mean, first is the one that people see every day. I'm a younger person, so I bring up a little bit of a different viewpoint there. I have some new ideas. I have some fresh energy. And I don't take anything for granted. Here's an example. Since June, I've been door knocking 4 days a week, 4 hours a night, every single week. Now it's a little bit different now in October because the sun goes down at 7:00 or whatever. So it's, 2 or 3 hours, but, we're out there. My team and I, we're out there, we're listening. Nobody's quite, and I don't want to, use a cliche, but we're trying to do politics a little bit differently. Nobody's quite doing what we're doing. There's other candidates for sure, door knocking and whatnot, but look, we've been going pedal to the metal since June. In addition, I have that active social media presence. I respond to all the messages, the emails I get. And I try to do politics in a way that it's a two-way conversation in full sentences. It's not just buzzwords or anything like that. Everything I post or I stand for, I have specific policies for. So I guess that's another thing that differentiates me a little bit is I have a very well thought out, things that I'm hoping to bring forward should I be reelected.
Absolutely. So being a younger member on council, do you find that our younger citizens approach you easily, or does the conversations a little bit different than you think that they have with other councils, like the youth council, for example?
Yeah, you betcha. I always knew I was like, a younger person in politics, but it didn't really occur to me until after the last election in 2017. Our city clerk sat me down in council orientation and said, I think you might be the youngest sitting councillor in all of Alberta. Now, that's not true. I think there's like one gentleman that's younger in like Beaver County or something. I don't know. But, I never really thought of myself, in relation to other people. But it's a bit of a different perspective. I feel like I might be a little bit more relatable. What I tell people, and I said this in the debate on the Chamber of Commerce debate, I might be the young guy, but at the same time, I'm kind of like the old man of council. I still like reading my newspapers and drinking coffee. So I don't, know everything that young people want. But I remember at a Citizens Distinction Awards night, there was a young person that came up and said, "Hey, man, I just wanted to meet you and introduce myself. I'm really into politics. You're a bit of an inspiration. I'm hoping to get into politics one day." And I really don't think the credit should go to me at all. It was Dominic Michio that really paved the way. He got elected, I think, when he was 22. He actually grew up across the street from me as a kid. So, he really paved the way for someone like me. But, it's interesting. So
that's awesome. So what are some of your key priorities if reelected?
Well, you know what, around the longs, I guess, of affordability, I fully recognize that it's tough times out there. It's people are living paycheck to paycheck. It's really sad when you go door knocking. Nothing quite grounds you in reality than, going door to door and reaching thousands of households. So, I've heard that it's tough times out there. So I think we need to look at everything from, property taxes, user fees at, say, the rec center or transit, but also programs and services, youth programming. I think there's something that could be done there, whether, it's the city of Leduc doing some youth programming or us partnering with other organizations, creating, affordable youth programming, I think is something to look at and help, reduce that cost of living. So that'd be, I guess, the first one. The second one, jobs in the economy. Again, not trying to sell a pipe dream saying, we're going to create all these jobs, but a few thoughts. The first one is the RFP process. Wood Buffalo, Fort McMurray, they're doing some really interesting work with their RFP process.
Can you say what RFP means for our listeners?
Sure. Yeah, I get sometimes in the mumbo jumbo, but that's the request for proposal. It's the procurement process.
Okay.
When the city wants to purchase goods or services from a vendor, it's the process people bid on, those projects. But, looking at that process, trying to prioritize local vendors, it's an investment in our, community. So even if it costs a little bit more, I think we should be trying our best to prioritize local vendors. And in addition to that, also looking at the social side of things. If we're going to hire a big company, millions of dollars on say Blackville Drive or Grant McEwen Boulevard, maybe we should be asking those people, how many local jobs are you going to create? What disadvantaged groups are you going to hire? And I think maybe that should be taken into consideration too. So like I said, Wood Buffalo, Fort McMurray, they're doing some great work. And so I'd like to take a peek at that in terms of jobs in the economy. Additionally, I think we could do a lot more in even selling Leduc, working with the realtors, working with the home builders and talking about the advantages, the huge advantages you have to moving to Leduc. And like homes are cheaper, taxes are a bit lower. There's so many advantages. We're so close to the city of Edmonton. We have transit that goes there. There's so many advantages to moving to Leduc. So, selling Leduc would be another one. And the last one, the crime reduction. And you mentioned it a bit. There's some things that are being done, but it's mainly that petty crime that I've heard. People going through trucks, cars, garages, backyards. One of the very basic things I think we could do is to continue to work collaboratively with, the Nighthawks, the Black Gold Citizens on Patrol, and educating folks. Too many times I've heard from the RCMP or bylaw or whomever that folks just didn't lock up their trucks or didn't lock up their garages or backyard or sheds or whatever, right? So, going door to door, leaving a leaflet, putting, I know in McKernan, Belgravia and Edmonton by the U of A, they had some petty crime issues. So they put up a big billboard that said, hey, make sure you're locking stuff up. This is a high crime area. So, I think there's some basic things that we could do to work on those kind of three issues. So.
Absolutely. I have to say, I have received those letters twice. They'll tucked into the front of my car window. They're like, just so you know, we checked your car. Shoot. Yeah. Good. Okay. Shoot. Yeah, that was right. Okay.
Yeah.
But in regards to that, like affordability and the property taxes, like I know quite a few investor clients from out of province, they get told all about Leduc because our house prices are substantially less, but our rent prices are the same as Edmonton. So they're like, it doesn't help the affordability of the renter, but that's how I know a lot of people are getting out of town investors is because the house prices are substantially less, but we're still charging the same amount of rents, which is a crazy concept for affordability. So, So what if elected, what is your vision for creating healthy neighborhoods and communities?
That's a great one. And I know I've taken a few cues from you. I know you've come to council a few times and really made the point of complete communities, right? And I think that's something that we've done better, I think, over the last few years, but there's still more to be done. And trying to aim for that kind of 15-minute community where, 15 minutes can take you to a small commercial center, a park, multi-ways, everything you need, right? I think that's one thing to really work with the developers to ensure that we have that in our area structure plans. The other one is, and it's kind of linking in with an environmental thing, but, trying to bolster that urban forest, right? I think there's a lot of benefits to urban forests, and especially in neighborhoods, the environmental side of things, preventing soil erosion, cleaning the air, but also the mental health, there's a lot of studies that say, greenery really helps that mental health aspect. So, trying to incorporate those, and bolstering that urban forest in neighborhoods, I think would help substantially.
Yeah, I really like that because we have the walking paths, which is great, but a lot of times the walking path is just beside a road and there's no there's no greenery. But I have heard that as well with the environmental forest. I think it was like in Japan, they even have like in their big tall buildings, they have like a level that's all greenery, right?
Yeah.
Because they need to have that mental get around nature environment. So yeah, for sure. That would be interesting to see how that will play out in our communities, having those environmental forests and not just parks and reserves like green space, but like, I think that'll definitely add another level of, enjoyment for our communities having that in town. So
yeah, you betcha.
That's cool. Yeah, that's awesome. So do you have any other parting words with our listeners?
You know what? Just I really encourage folks to get out and vote. That's the big one. As you I think mentioned, the voter turnout is just so low, and it's really depressing. So getting out to vote, I really encourage folks to do that. The people that you elect have huge influence in the way that our community is built. So it really does matter. In addition, there's the two referendum questions. There's the Senate election. So it's kind of a special election. There's a lot at stake, and democracy is the best way to put your opinion out there. So really encourage folks to get out and vote.
That's awesome. Well, I really want to make sure that I'm giving everybody a chance to speak, and the council, everybody who's running for council, a chance to really speak about who they are outside of the forums. Like the forums, you had a minute to talk on a topic.
Yeah,
like, like you don't really get to see who you stand with and what values align. And if you're not there that day, you're in the neighborhood, you don't get a chance to be on the flyer either, right? So I'm really hoping that people are going to be able to listen to this and really, find someone that they can align with and vote with. So thank you so much for all the work that you've done in the last 4 years. And thank you again very much for your time this evening.
Yeah. Hey, and thanks for having me. Like you mentioned, this is a great service to the community, so folks can really get a more in-depth look at candidates. So thank you. Yeah,
no problem. I'm glad that it's coming across well. So thank you very much.
Right on.
Awesome. So thanks again for coming. It's been a pleasure.
No problem.